Snyder from the belt to the plate. A swing and a miss, and that's a winner. That's a winner. A World Series winner for the Cardinals. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game by the score of 3-2 on a home run by the Wizard. Go crazy. Swinging a long one into left field. Adios, goodbye, and maybe that's the winner. A 3-run homer by Clark. And the Cardinals lead by the score of 7-5, and they may go to the World Series on that one, folks.
What a team. What a ride. The Cardinals are world champs in 2011.
Welcome to That's a Winner podcast. I am Ryan Jenkins, and with me, as always, is Josh Brown over there. Josh, let's get right into it. Let's kind of break down our conversation, what we're going to talk about tonight. I thought tonight was going to be a very doom and gloom conversation. It has not gone very well for the Cardinals in the last, let's say, 10 games, or you can go 18 or so, what we are for the season. And I thought tonight's episode was going to be very, oh, crap. But then the offense goes off and scores 14 runs. Tommy Edman has a career day. Nolan Gorman pitch hit a grand slam. Like, what is your big takeaway from today? And then does that ease any of your fears that has been going on for the last 10 days?
I don't know if it eases them too much. I think it's tough. Of all the performances they had of these 3 games, like I feel like this was the most likely outcome,
right?
For the offense to explode, because Madison Bumgarner's just been so bad the last couple of years,
right?
And the Cardinals tend to hit lefties pretty well. It doesn't, and I would have to look because I could be wrong off the top of my head, but it doesn't seem like we faced too many lefties so far.
No.
Just like, just thinking of that out loud. I haven't looked at the numbers, but we tend to hit lefties well. I think that, it's nice to see the offense explode. And look, they lost that game last night 8-7. That wasn't the offense's fault. Offense could have packed it in after they went down 7-2, and
right.
They fought back, which was good to see. But the problem with this team is the problem that it's been the whole season, and it's the problem that we thought it was going to be once again this offseason. It's the starting pitching.
Do you think that, to me, the pitching has solidified? I don't know if that's the right word to go about it, but if you look at the numbers over the last 5 starts of what they were before, they have improved. They're more of what you expected them to be. Jordan Montgomery pitched well, Jack pitched well, and then Woodford pitched well enough. Like, guys did what you were expected. We still don't have an ace. We're not going to in this group. It's just not going to be it. We don't really have a number 2. We're just not going to in this group. But I think the second time around, or I guess now we're third time around, the guys have balanced out to pitch more like you expected them to pitch.
Yeah, it's been a little bit better for sure. But Montgomery's start the other day didn't help.
No.
I saw BK or somebody, I'm pretty sure it was BK, was, later in the game, towards the end when they came back, he was bringing up some rundown where a run scored that it probably shouldn't have, and hey, if that doesn't happen, like the game's tied. I'm like, man, what are we talking about? Jordan Montgomery, he gave up 7 runs in 4 innings. That's why we lost. It wasn't because of the offense. It wasn't because of one run that came across because a rundown didn't go the right way. Like, he gave up 7 runs in 4 innings. And I don't know what to think with this team. Montgomery was the one that you would think was kind of leading the staff early on. First couple starts, he looked really, really good. And then out of nowhere, he was coasting, the first 2 or 3 innings, and then just starts getting rocked.
Right.
And I know the Diamondbacks have very much improved. Like, a lot of people are kind of pegging them as almost like a surprise. The next surprise, like a lot of what I've seen on MLB Network with them is like they're going to be the NL's version this year of what the Orioles were last year.
Yeah.
A young team that their prospects are finally getting it together. They're making that jump, and don't be surprised if they make a wild card round. And I could see that. Like, they got a lot of really good young talent. Their starting pitching is pretty good. Their bullpen looked all right. So it wouldn't surprise me, but man, you think Wainwright's going to be the ace when he comes back? I don't know who's going to carry this staff at this point.
Has Wainwright ever been an ace? honestly. Like, has he ever been the one in
Maybe that first year after Carpenter retired.
Yeah, like you've always thought big things of Wainwright, but he never carried a staff, and I don't expect him to. He started today. He gave up a home run. He pitched exactly what he was supposed to pitch, what was anticipated for him. He pitched 60 pitches, I think 59 pitches, and he had 3 strikeouts and gave up a home run, a few hits. So I think most importantly is how did he feel? What was his pitch speeds? How did he look in general? A home run, you can make a mistake and give up a home run. So that I'm not too worried about that. It's more about the other stuff. I think when Waino returns, probably next week or so, it will then solidify the bullpen because Woodford then probably goes to the
he's got to be the guy. He's got to be the guy out of the rotation, I would think.
Right, but he then goes to the bullpen, which strengthens the bullpen. You know what I mean? Like then gives you a long relief guy that you're not using other guys. Like it just kind of spins things around and gets everybody a little more cohesive that way. I think that they're just doing what they expected, and then the offense has stopped hitting in runners in scoring position. Like it was like, okay, the pitching's been dreadful, and then the hitting was good or great even at times, and then the pitching got even, and then you couldn't hit with runners in scoring position.
Yeah,
and so that was like, wait, what happened here? So I think the team has just gone in waves, and part of that is guys haven't been hitting, and now Contreras contributing the last 3 games.
Arguably the hottest hitter in the lineup.
It makes
He's
it
been
completely different.
I think like 3 or 4 games in a row now with extra base hit or multiple extra base hits.
I think he has doubles in 3 straight games, I think is right.
Yeah.
So like that is whenever he gets going, the lineup gets different. The lineup gets longer. It just is easier to score runs. And obviously today, lefty, you're going against a lefty, right? So Tommy is batting from the right side, and he's been unbelievable against lefties.
Needs to give up batting lefty, man.
I think his numbers I think he's
batting.
batting.
I say that, and then his last hit, I think his last hit of the day was a triple in the gap. He got a hold of one batting left-handed, but his swing just looks totally different. He looks way more comfortable batting right-handed.
Batting like 850 right-handed this year.
Oh yeah, he's like 9 for 12.
Yeah, something like that.
It's insane.
And 2 home runs, I think now.
I think so, yeah, after
side.
today, yeah.
Yeah, 2 home runs, 9 for 12, and I think he's 8 for 45 or something from the other side.
Might be 50-something, yeah. It's rough. And I was at a game, it was either last year, it had to have been last year. It was in Cincinnati, and he had a rough stretch batting left-handed, and he batted right-handed that whole game, and there was a right-handed starter on the mound. I remember texting you about this, and he might have gotten a hit. He didn't, tear the cover off the ball, but he definitely took better at bats than he had been batting left-handed. He just seems like he turns into almost like a slap hitter, when he's batting left-handed.
Do you think it's a lot of confidence though? Because if you look, maybe today is a jumping off point for both sides of the plate for him.
Yeah.
Because was leadoff most of the year last year, and then now he's the 9th place hitter, and that is obviously he's going to get less at bats. He's getting more pressure to be able to go in and do something there. I think that he needs the win, and today was a big win for him. 5 RBI is the most he's ever had in a game.
Career high.
Yeah, and just a single short of the cycle, which is the only thing he was really doing from the other side of the plate.
Right.
Was singling. So I thought he was definitely going to get it. He the next time up he grounded out, and then he would be the next guy up.
Yeah.
Our 7, 8, 9 went nothing.
I kind of wish he would have tried maybe laying a bunt down.
Yeah.
If the third baseman wasn't playing him in, like why with his speed, why not? But I don't think we've had one bunt attempt this year.
Kisner, I remember on opening day, failed to bunt.
Popped it up.
And then he had a sack a couple nights ago as well.
That's right.
But I don't think anyone, I take that back. I think Burleson attempted a bunt because someone was shifted in deep on him, but he did not connect or succeed.
Yeah. We could make the same argument for Dylan Carlson as well. He had a good day today, batting right-handed once again. So he has shown he's hit a couple of doubles the last few days batting left-handed, but for the most part, he really hasn't shown much from the left side either. And my understanding is that he had been switch hitting much more effectively than Tommy even throughout his minor league career, throughout his prospect pedigree. Everything I'd read actually is he had more power from the left side, but we hadn't seen that. It's all been right-handed, kind of like Tommy.
Well, Carlson was a very high prospect, like you said. Like not comparatively to Tommy, he's not. I mean, Tommy was like Brendan Donovan,
Right?
Just kind of came
Nobody
out,
knew about him until he came up here.
and they said, and he made him like make them keep him on the team because like he just kept on hitting doubles and was like, yeah, this guy is now on the team. Like they made it in the way, and then obviously DeYoung struggles then made it even more of made Tommy to have some opportunities to get in the game a lot more often. So let's talk a little bit about Nolan Gorman. Nolan Gorman has
Just a little bit. Let's talk just a little bit.
Nolan Gorman just keeps on hitting the ball. But why can he not get an opportunity when a lefty's on the mound?
I don't understand it.
Like, I get it that he has bad numbers, but he's getting no opportunities. And today would have been, I think, a really good opportunity to get him against Madison Bumgarner. So you think that's going to be the entire year? Like, that's just what they're going to go with?
It shouldn't be. Especially after today, it shouldn't be. I know he hit that off a right-hander, but I would have to look at the numbers, but I don't remember him having bad numbers against lefties in the minors.
Yeah,
like it's not like he's been terrible against them.
Yeah, I don't know that either. Like, but obviously he did struggle in the majors against lefties. But if he redid his swing and readjusted everything, how do
Let
we know
him try that out against left-handers?
How do we know it's not going to work?
I mean, your only other alternative is Motter, and no offense to Taylor Motter, but he's like a 7-8 year journeyman that got his first RBI with us this year in like 2 or 3 years.
Right.
I mean, there's no reason he should be out there. To me, like especially with the way that Gorman's hitting right now, there's no reason. Like give Gorman some at bats, let him try out against left-handers, and if he can hit left-handers too, like what are we even talking about?
Well, right,
he's the best hitter right now.
Motter is batting 8th today, and Kisner was batting 9th. Those two were pretty much automatic outs. Kisner got a hit late in the game, but they were pretty much automatic outs. And it's like I would rather see Gorman, like you said. I'd rather see Gorman up and get an opportunity. Last night,
and he could still run into one and hit a home run off a lefty. Taylor Motter's not going to do that.
And he's spraying the ball. He's hitting it to all fields, but
he's hitting it hard every time. He's barreling it.
I forgot what I was going to say now, but Gorman in Motter, like what's the difference? Like Motter, who would you? A lot of people have been talking about why is Motter on the team? Like why is he?
Well, the only reason he's on the team is because DeYoung's hurt. I mean, DeYoung would have had that spot.
Right.
As much as we don't want him to, he would have had that spot if he hadn't gotten hurt.
Like Motter was a surprise to make the team, right?
Oh yeah.
So who was he a surprise over? People said Yepez should be up, but it's all about him being an infielder.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was more so Motter over DeYoung because DeYoung had gotten hurt.
He's rehabbing.
Right. And he can play, he can play all over the infield some. I think he might have even played the outfield a few times in spring training. I don't know how he did, but for me, I'm like, we've got Donovan. Like he's that utility guy.
Right. Already got the long hair.
Bring up the best hitters. I honestly don't think that Yepez should have been sent down.
Instead of who would you have capped? Who have you would sit down instead of?
Maybe Motter, honestly, which maybe isn't fair to
That's what
him
people
because he
have
hadn't
said.
gotten a lot of starts.
But that's what people
I just
have
don't.
said.
I don't think we need him. You've got Gorman who can play second and third, and you've got Donovan who can play literally everywhere. Like, why do we need Taylor Motter? I would rather have Yepez as an option to DH, or even if he had to, like, instead of playing Donovan at first base, play him at second and play Yepez at first base, who took reps at first base last year. Like, you know what I mean? I want the better bat.
Do you think they're trying to get more days off for Goldie, more days off for Arenado?
It seemed like that this week.
Yeah, so they're trying to get more days off, so Motter fits that bill to be able to put Gorman at third or Donovan at third, and move all those guys around. And then,
well, actually, I mean, I think Gorman's played third a couple of those times, and then Donovan's.
But Donovan's
played a pretty good first base a few games, actually.
Motter has played third as well,
right?
Like they keep on moving around. What I was gonna say was, last night they pinch hit Gorman. You're arguably, or not, maybe not so arguably, best hitter so far this year for Arenado. Whenever they were down in the 9th inning, down 1 in the 9th. Arenado pinch hit for Gorman. Was that the spot to pinch hit? I mean, like Gorman has been your best and your clutchest hitter, by the way. His I haven't checked updated, but as of yesterday, his clutch was .32. Clutch stat is like this crazy stat based on opportunities
Late
in the
and close.
seventh inning, and you're down by whatever runs are on the bases or counting yourself, and how you come through in those situations. And he is .32, leads the NL in clutch performances. So he's the clutchest hitter in the NL right now. He's second in majors behind like Yordan Alvarez.
Pretty good company.
Yeah, those are the two guys that's the only guy that has a better clutch than him, which means that he's getting hits in big moments. So if you're down 1 in the 9th inning, what's more clutch than that?
Right.
And so Arenado's on your bench. Awesome. I get that too. But like, who are you not pinch hitting for? Like, if that's Donovan up, are they putting in Arenado? If that is Tyler O'Neill or Dylan Carlson,
That was the other night when they came back from
Yes.
that 8-7 loss.
but like if that
Was it a right-handed pitcher on the mound?
I don't know for sure.
I can't remember. I turned off the game.
turned off the game.
To be honest with you, I turned off the game
Yeah.
after I saw 7-2, 7-3.
I was watching on my phone, but like even if my point is even lefty righty, but if it was Dylan Carlson or Donovan or O'Neill, are they pinch hitting Arenado for them? I don't think they are.
No. Yeah, I don't understand this with Gorman of not getting him at bats against lefties.
Yeah, like mine.
It just doesn't seem
the
warranted.
opportunity. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't failed this year at it because he hasn't had the opportunity. So
Right. Well, I mean, there's been a few times that like he's started the game and maybe they brought in a lefty reliever in the middle or early of the game, and I think a few times gotten hits. You go ahead and keep talking. I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look this up just to see like if he's even gotten some at bats against lefties this year. Because I know he's gotten a few at least.
that's usually when they take the opportunity to pinch hit for him is
Right.
that spot. That has
Well,
obviously happened.
if it's later in the game,
Yes. But again, what has he done this year that says that he can't perform? That's where I just don't get the conversation. He's done nothing but hit all year. And he has done nothing but succeed all year and being clutch in super clutch moments all year. I don't understand the opportunity, why he hasn't gotten the opportunity to hit.
Well, apparently I was wrong. He
He has not faced a lefty all year.
Well, he's not gotten a hit
Okay.
against a lefty. Versus lefty as a lefty, he only 4 at bats, 0 for 4, but no strikeouts.
Well,
So he's hitting the ball.
his strikeouts, I don't know if they're down. I don't know his percentage, but his walks are way up. And his strikeouts, I don't know where they sit percentage-wise, but his walks are way up. His on-base is great. Like, he's taking better at bats, period,
Oh yeah,
in general.
he is at a 14% walk rate right now. That number was at 8.9% last year.
So almost doubled it almost.
21.9% strikeout percentage. That number
That
was
is
at
great.
almost 33% last year.
But in
But
the
for
minors,
a power hitter,
but in the minors, he was 30%.
yes, power hitter under 25, under 30, honestly, for like a guy that you could see hitting 35, 40 plus home runs, like especially if he's hitting them, fairly often per at bat. I don't mind if he's striking out 20, 25, nearing the 30% of the time.
No,
I would ideally not want 30, but
that's
great.
That's
he's
what they
right under
profiled
22.
him. That's what they expect him to do is strike out 30% of the time. Like that was like last year, and everyone's giving him all this grief that he's striking out a ton. Like this is not unexpected. This
and
year
he was still 7% above league average last year.
right, and this year at 22% almost, that is unexpected, and that's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
Obviously, like for him to be at 22%, that's like he's taking a lot better at bats. He's taking a lot more pitches and understanding the strike zone a lot more. Which
Was that
is
his
awesome.
5th home run today or 4th?
I think it's his 4th.
Okay. For some reason, I thought it was his 5th. If so, I was looking at Fangraphs, and that's not updated yet on him, what I was looking at.
I think it was his 4th. He leads the team in home runs.
Yeah, it was his 4th.
Okay, I thought so. And the Cardinals as a whole are not tearing the cover off the ball in home runs. A lot of guys are at 2 now. Tommy, Donovan, Contreras, Goldie. I think maybe he hit 3 now, but Arenado. Like there's a lot of guys that are 2s in home runs. So the Cardinals haven't really hit their stroke when it comes to that. And now we go to Seattle, off day off day tomorrow, or right now when you're listening to this episode, maybe, and then go to Seattle for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We talked about my wife and I talked about going to this series and didn't end up booking tickets, but this is only like the 18th time the Cardinals have played the Mariners, which I thought was very strange. And then obviously we're going to play them every single year back and forth now because of the new schedule. There's not a lot of history with the Cardinals and the Mariners, and which is cool. Next year, then if Colton is still there, would come to St. Louis to be able to play. The Mariners have not played well.
Same record as us now.
Yeah, so
they got swept by the Brewers today.
So I was gonna. So we go there and they're not on a hot streak, and the Cardinals are not on a hot streak. They're about 500 in the last 10 games or so for the Cardinals. The Mariners, the Padres, the Dodgers.
I thought it was. Am I crazy? I thought it was 4 at the Giants.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I haven't.
Is it the Padres?
No. I haven't made my point yet. The Padres, the Mariners, the Dodgers are all in that same range of win-loss.
Right.
And we in St. Louis are saying the sky is falling.
Yeah.
But those teams are probably supposed to be better than the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah.
And they are just the same or similar record. So do you think that we in St. Louis, we as Cardinals fans, are going through this differently than those cities are going through this? Like, do you think that they think the sky is falling, or do you think they're saying it's April, we're a good ball club, relax?
I think that if I were a Padres or Dodgers fan, especially Dodgers, well, Padres too, honestly, with the pitching staff and the
Padres. Dodgers aren't supposed to be as good this year than they have been.
Right, but you still expect them to be pretty good.
Right.
Dodgers are 9-10 right now, so what? Just a game or two better than we are.
Yeah.
The Padres, I hadn't seen their record, but I know that they're
all under 500.
Yeah. I think my confidence as a fan is probably higher with those two teams.
Right, but is that different from the outside looking in versus what people in St. Louis...
Well, the expectations are also different, right? So, like the Padres now are expected to win for sure, right? I mean, they signed Xander Bogart, they traded for Juan Soto, they've signed these pitchers.
And I don't expect them to win, by the way. I don't expect them to win a World Series.
Well, maybe not a World Series, but if there's a year I think that they should or can win that division, I do think it's this year.
Yeah.
For sure. Just given the step that the Dodgers took back, particularly in pitching.
Right.
So they're supposed to be really good. The expectation's different. So as a fan base, you're still excited as those fans. But, Dodgers fans, I think at this point, probably have the same expectation as Cardinals fans. Like, hey, we should be winning this division. We're the Dodgers.
Right.
We're the Cardinals. Right. So I could see their fans kind of ticked. But here's the thing, though, for me. As a Dodgers fan, I'd be like, we're gonna get it together, and if we don't, they'll go make an incredible move at the trade deadline, and then we'll be fine. Are the Cardinals gonna do that? No, we're not gonna do that. So for me, this whole it's only April, that doesn't work anymore. It's never really worked as a Cardinals fan because we don't do anything of big significance at the trade deadline to compensate for a really bad start. Now, I know that this team over the last handful of years has definitely been better in the second half. I mean, Arenado, Goldschmidt said that before. We're just a second half team, and they've said we've got to start better though. But I mean, the way the Brewers are playing out of the gate, man, I don't think. I mean, I know you and I didn't expect them to be this good out of the gate. We knew their pitching would be good again, but their offense has been way better than people thought it would be.
Yes,
they're 14-5.
Yes, their offense has way overachieved for what I expected. And I think that'll balance out. Same with the Cubs. The Cubs have overachieved right now as well.
Yeah, it's their pitching for them that's overachieved. They've won 4 in a row. The Cubs, Brewers have won 4 in a row as well.
Yeah, and so I think as we're underachieving, the Cardinals are underachieving currently, I think those other teams are overachieving, and I think it'll balance out over time. I texted you in the group today that Paul Goldschmidt grabbed his hamstring after he stretched for a ball.
That. I did see that play. Yeah.
And they talked to him and he stopped, and he came out later in the game too. Now they didn't say it was anything to do with that. They just gave
it was after Gorman hit the grand slam. And they went up big.
They went up big and they took him out. And if something like that happens, you lose Goldschmidt or something, then
Oh,
this
yeah.
team is really in trouble. Like all of a sudden, we're right there on the edge of like getting this going and feeling better, more confident with the offense, with Contreras and all this, and then that would happen. It would be catastrophic to this team at this point. Already out 6 games or whatever it is, right? Already
Yeah.
that far. And again, we've been down 10 games in August, and it still came and won the
Won
division.
17 in a row.
Right. Like
Probably won't happen again this year.
it probably won't, but like I expect that they will get hot at some point. And right now I think they're getting there with offense is coming around where everyone's contributing, and I think the pitching staff is solidifying. Let's talk a little bit about Jordan Hicks.
Yes.
I thought Jordan Hicks probably was done pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals.
He's been really bad this year.
After whatever game that was. I can't remember off the top of my head what game it was. But after the bad game in the last week, I thought that was probably it. And he has no more options left. He cannot be sent back down without him okaying the option because of service time.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of time. The same thing that happened with Paul DeYoung whenever we were trying to trade for Juan Soto, supposedly, and he got called up in that Nationals series when we played in Washington, if you remember that. And once he got called up, then he was done being sent down unless he accepts being sent down because he's been in the league long enough. So Jordan Hicks is in the same position, and reportedly they asked him to be sent down, and he declined, which it's his prerogative to do so.
Yeah.
And I expected him to be, at that point, traded or be DFA'd because he didn't have a fit. Because they couldn't be put in any real leverage situations. He's even...
And Marmol kept putting him in high leverage situations for some reason.
And Hicks has said he prefers to come in when the bases are empty, which...
I get it, but you're a major leaguer, man.
But you're also a reliever.
And you throw 105.
But
and
you're a reliever.
You should have nasty stuff. You don't get control over that.
Only guys that's coming in with no one on is who's starting the inning, and that's a starter. He's going to start the first inning. No one's going to be on yet.
Yeah,
that's where you're going to get in.
Or Helsley maybe if he's starting a fresh ninth, but
he comes in the 8th as well, like in 4-out saves, 5-out saves. Helsley does with traffic. So like I think that's weird for him to say that as a reliever.
Not to me. It's not the right mentality.
No,
if you're wanting,
it doesn't sound confident.
Because think 4 years ago when Hicks first came up, he was like closing out games for us and filthy.
Yeah,
and coming in whenever needed to do that and getting it done like that. That should be your mentality as a reliever. Like I'm just thinking as like I'm generally competitive person. Like, yeah, put me in with bases loaded and 1 out. Let me show you how I'm going to get out of this.
Right.
Like you should, especially the stuff if I had that arm, man, I would be like, put me in any situation. I don't care. I'm going to get this out of it.
Reverse. If you say bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th, I want to hit. If you're scared,
right,
you don't want to hit, right? So if you come in bottom of the 9th and you want to pitch, like you should be amped up for that situation, not saying I'd rather come
not
in.
timid and then, I said I wanted to pitch with the base. It's like that kind of response is like the pitching version of what O'Neill said about running too hard.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Dude, come on.
We can get into more about O'Neill because I do have some more things that
he still hadn't been running too hard the last few games.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I mean, it's been noticed.
But let's stay on Jordan Hicks for a moment. So Jordan Hicks, he was put in twice now in no leverage situations. Nothing. He struck out the side in one, and I don't remember what he did today. I think he came in today and did something too. But the point is,
he did come in the end of the game. I think his last 2 outings were much better. I didn't watch them, but supposedly.
But there's no pressure whatsoever. So does that tell you, okay, we're gaining confidence and we're turning a corner, or it doesn't matter until he's in a leverage situation to find out if he has the mental capacity to handle the majors again?
And that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, him coming in a 14-5 win, or when we're down 7-3, 7-2, that doesn't do anything for me. There's no pressure on you. I mean,
you don't want him to get blown up there,
right?
Either.
I'm glad that he's pitching better, because you have to build up that trust again to get those high leverage situations back. But no, I'm not going to be able to. I mean, we as fans aren't going to be able to see what we're believing with him again until we see it in a high leverage situation. And I know he can do it. I mean, again, he did it as a 21-year-old, 20-year-old rookie, 21-year-old, second year guy.
And
like
he started
was
some games
great
too, right? In
last year,
yeah.
To start out the season. That didn't start too well. But yeah, he is somebody that they really need, honestly. I mean, if he is right mentally, if he could just get some strikeouts, stop walking people, I mean, that should be your 7th, 8th, 9th. To some, Hicks.
Cabrera has looked better as well.
Cabrera's looked a lot better, but Hicks, Gallegos, and Helsley, really, I mean, those should be your guys.
And in the past has been pretty locked down. And so far this year, there hasn't been very many bright spots in the bullpen as a whole.
Zach Thompson and Verhagen have been, aside from Helsley, really, the only. I mean, Gallegos has been fine the times he's come in. He really hasn't pitched that much. But it really just those two guys have been the bullpen surprises, and Thompson is really not that much of a surprise because he was really good last year.
He was Indiana boy. So what about? There's been a lot of conversation about Matthew Liberatore. Matthew Liberatore coming up. Will he get another opportunity? And if I am not mistaken, is he on the 40-man or not on the 40-man? For one, I'll ask that. Two, do we think now that he does not get the opportunity because Adam Wainwright is about to come back? Now, this is a long stretch of games. I do believe that BT had talked about having like a 6-man rotation because
Liberatore is on the 40-man.
He is on the 40. Okay, so that's good.
Dakota Hudson still is too.
Okay, so that's good because of movement. Like you think of how you got to move guys around, but stretch of guys. What if Adam Wainwright comes back and he goes 3 innings, 4 innings, 5 innings? Do you go to a 6-man rotation? Like, when does Matthew Liberatore get an opportunity? Is Waino coming back very shortly inhibit him to getting another chance? Because he's pitched very well down in the minors the last few times. I did not see what he did this week. Do you know what he did this week, Matthew Liberatore?
Yeah, I was trying to look at his latest game here. Here it is. So far, let's see, his latest outing, he went 5 2/3. The 18th, yeah, that was yesterday. 5 2/3, 8 hits, 4 earned. Had 6 strikeouts though. That's been his worst outing.
I was gonna say that sounds like his
worst.
worst.
That's his worst outing in there. That was against our Indianapolis Indians.
It was.
It wasn't here. They were in Memphis.
But yeah, I saw that it was going against the Indians. I'm like, wait, what?
But listen to this. This is how he started off the year. 5 innings, 4 hits, 7 strikeouts for a win. 5 innings, 3 hits, 7 Ks for a win. Against the Gwinnett Stripers last week, he went 7 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned, and 10 strikeouts. But here's, for me, really is what I've been seeing on Cal Reese's GIFs. If you don't follow Cal, he's GIFs. He's great.
Whichever you prefer.
If you want to keep up with what's going on in the minor leagues, he's gifting those games.
Or jiffing them.
Jiffing them every night. One or the other, whatever we want to call it. What's stuck out to me for Liberatore in the minors and what I saw in spring training is the velocity. I mean, his fastball has been sitting at 97, maybe even getting it up to 98 if he needs it. And I think that's where these strikeouts are coming from because he's always had a good curveball.
Yeah.
And his curveball, I would say, isn't as nasty as Zach Thompson. Zach Thompson's got it. He's got a Wainwright nasty curveball, but from the left-handed side.
Yeah.
I've been his curveball's nasty.
Zach Thompson has been a revelation.
Oh, yeah.
He's been awesome. But
Liberatore's like he's not walking people.
I think he's 4 starts in. That was his 4th start?
Yeah, that was his 4th start.
His first 3 starts were spectacular.
Yes.
His 4th start, it sounds like it was iffy. Now, does he get the opportunity?
But he only walked 1 batter this last start. That was actually his best. His first 3 starts, he walked 2, walked. He actually walked 3 in that 10 strikeout game. But his control and his velocity is what has impressed me the most.
So do you think he gets an opportunity in the next go-around, the next spot, before he pitches again in AAA?
I don't think so. Well, unless Wainwright's not back in that timeline and they want to, but then if you know Wainwright's going to be back soon, you're not going to send down Jake Woodford if you want him to be a long relief guy.
Well, that's what I was also going to think of. Woodford's last start was his best of the year as well. So like he was probably pitching for his job. If he gets blown up in that
That was
game
today, right? Did he
uh,
pitch today? Am I crazy?
I might be a day behind or a day. It may have been yesterday, but either the point is, he may have been pitching for his job, and he pitched well.
Right.
So if he gets blown up, I think that he would get sent down, or maybe get moved to the bullpen, and then they call Liberatore up. But he did not get blown up. He pitched well enough. I think it was his best game of the year that he pitched. But then that also then goes back. Then who do you send down? And you can't send down Hicks, and then obviously JoJo Romero. Romero got called up, and they sent down Yepes with that one, right? So
No, Andre Palante.
Andre Palante got sent down with that one. So like, there are guys that can still be moved up and down if you move Woodford to the pen. Like, you can obviously move to the pen, and then JoJo can go back down if you want it. But JoJo Romero has pitched great in Memphis as well this season. So there's a lot of guys in Memphis that are pitching really well and hitting really well. Memphis has won like 8 or 9 games in a row, by the way.
We've got some options
Yeah.
for the bullpen. I think
Like,
that's what's made it tough
they're
with the whole
killing it.
Hicks thing.
Offense is killing it. Pitching is killing it. I don't know if you've been paying attention. They're like 8 or 9 games in a row.
Redbirds are usually really competitive, and credit that probably to Randy Flores and
Right.
his drafting and development for those guys.
Well,
You've got Mason Wynn there now, and
I think about the Alan Craig group, like that
Memphis
group.
Mafia.
Yeah, the Memphis Mafia of when they won their whatever the league is, they won the whole thing, and then all those guys turned out to then come on and win a World Series for the Cardinals as well. Like whenever Memphis is good, then you know that the St. Louis Cardinals are going to be good thereafter because of that type of run. But they're playing really well right now. I think they went like back-to-back home runs, one to be a walk-off like last night. Like, they've just been playing really well, but with the guys that we've heard of offensively, but the pitching has been really, really good.
yeah, it's gotten better. And Woodford, it was Woodford who started today. He went 5. Kind of forgotten, right? Because they scored 14 runs. He went 5, gave up 7 hits, 4 earned, 1 walk, 1 strikeout.
Like, he was fine.
Now, his previous start before that against Pittsburgh, 5 1/3, 7 hits, no runs.
Yeah, there you go.
3
That's probably the one
Ks.
I was thinking of
I
before
think
today.
the more I look at these stat lines from our staff, and we knew this going in, the problem to me right now is the entire staff is pitch to contact guys.
Right.
We don't have, Flaherty the other night for the first 4 innings until it blew up in the 5th looked like the Flaherty of old.
Yes.
Now, he was getting some generous calls. I don't know if you were watching that game. There were definitely some fastballs off the plate, but he was getting them, and he was going back to them in those spots and painting. So credit to him. He looked a lot better. His velocities looked a lot better. I don't know if you saw Cardinals GIFs.
Yeah.
GIFed him coming off the mound when Ollie brought him out. Did you see that?
Yes.
Did you see that one? And
Yeah.
he was effing. That
He could just be mad at
he
himself.
could have just been mad at himself. But given his reaction after
the home
Palante
run.
gave up the grand slam, I think he probably wanted a chance to get out of that. And I think you could have argued that, he probably should have gotten that chance, just given how he had been pitching, the 3-4 innings before. But I think the problem with this staff is what we thought it was going to be. They don't have strikeout guys. They've got pitch to contact guys. And I don't know how we get the data to even see, but I would assume not being able to do shifts is not helping our pitching staff. The shifts that we've been able to do in the past.
I assume there's a way for that data to be extrapolated somewhere. I don't know if anyone is doing that. I think that's important too, but also there's so much movement in the lineup every day. Look, I've always been a proponent of pick your best 8 guys, now 9, right? 8 guys and put them in the game, and you put them in the lineup, and I like to see a repetitive lineup. I know who's going to bat first, second, third, fourth, like the lineup every single day. But the Giants changed that way and analytically and flip-flopped versus righty and lefty every single day, and they won 100 and some odd games a couple years ago. And that analytical data has really changed the game very much so, right?
Yeah.
So I think about that and how much this changes. But what happened whenever they had Newt or Walker in right? I don't remember who was in right. Carlson in center and O'Neill in left. O'Neill was making diving plays.
Yep.
It was the best defensive outfield that we had put together all season. And I think that's important because, like you just said, we pitch to contact. Well, if you're not putting your best athletes out there that play in the proper positions, and O'Neal is not a center fielder, like that should be over. That experiment of figuring out if he's going to be the center fielder should be done and over with. He belongs in left, and he plays a really, really good left field. He's a Gold Glove left field. I mean, so is Marcelo Ozuna. But like
Once upon a time,
but like
O'Neal's got 2 of them, and one of them was like the advanced nerds that voted on it.
Right.
You know, so his seem a little more
But
legit.
if you're going to pitch to contact, you got to have the right guys in
Yes.
in the positions. And I think that O'Neal in left and then Carlson or Newton center is the way to go. We can talk about Jordan Walker. Jordan Walker's defensive numbers are terrible.
They're not great.
They're the defensive runs scored,
And
saved.
even there's a few times even when the ball comes right at him, I'm like, I
Yeah.
cringe a little bit, but he's making those plays at least. Like for me, it just
make the routine.
make the plays you're supposed to make.
Yes.
You know, keep guys from advancing to the next base because we know you've got the arm, and
right.
hopefully the more he practices that, we'll start seeing him gun guys down. I mean, he legitimately, the arm strength that he's shown should be like making some Rick Ankiel type throws.
Right.
You know, and he probably could once he gets used to throwing out there. But he's, yeah.
His
I mean,
outs
it's
above
not,
average are terrible. His
not good.
defensive run saved is terrible. Like all of the metrics that show a defender.
hopefully it's only up
not
from
great.
here, though.
Yes. But then also talk about Jordan. Let's move on to Jordan Walker. Talk about Jordan Walker. Jordan Walker went like for a 4 for 30 streak. He went for an 0 for 13. He 2 for a 25 or something like that. Like he was in the midst of a pretty bad
Finally
streak.
hit that struggle we all thought he would at some point.
I expected it to even be. It's going to probably be worse at some point. But he hit a lull, and then he came out and hit 2 singles like yesterday or whatever.
It was today. Yeah, well, he had
today.
he had a hit yesterday, and he had 2 singles today. I think what's been nice the last couple of days, and today specifically, both his hits today were over 105. So hitting the ball hard. So
right.
you want to see that.
But as I expected, and as I said, don't do this. The Twitterverse and the Facebook world was turning on him like
Right.
he needs to be sent down. He shouldn't be up so much. He's struggling here. He's not a good outfielder and he's not hitting, which I expected that to happen like they did against Gorman last year. Like it's not good enough to perform.
But Dylan Carlson had worse stretches last year, and he didn't get sent down.
Right. But my question is this. Is his his getting out of his slump, Donovan getting out of his slump, is that because Jeff Albert is not here? Because that was what I asked for last year was Goldie was in this horrific slump. Your hitting coach should get that guy out of that slump. So we saw Donovan have a struggle for a while, and then he gets 2 or 3 hits in a game, and he's back on track. We've seen Walker have a little struggle, similar amount, and then he gets 2 or 3 hits, and he gets back on track. Is that because Jeff Albert is no longer with the St. Louis Cardinals, or is that just because these are young guys and it's just coincidence? But my point is limiting the length of these issues.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think for Walker, I think for him still being so young, it's just he's just going to have to figure out, because it seems like a lot of these strikeouts the last few days is just slider after changeup after it was all breaking stuff.
Yeah. No hard stuff. They just weren't.
Yes.
They weren't giving anything hard.
And that was something I noticed today that was encouraging with Bumgarner was he was waiting back because Bumgarner did the same thing, was throwing him a lot of breaking stuff, and both his hits were on breaking balls. So for me with him, I want to see the adjustment made, right? And for a 20-year-old to do that, I mean, look, he started off with the 12-game hitting streak. Nobody's done that in like 100 years.
Right.
So we knew it couldn't, aside from maybe starting to drive the ball more and starting to hit more home runs, which I still think is going to come with how hard he hits the ball. He starts getting some, launch angle on it. It couldn't have really gone much higher than the 12-game hitting streak. But yeah, you want to see the adjustments made. And I think because he is that big high prospect that, you've got Mo saying probably the best we've had since Albert, you're going to have more attention drawn to him. But like you said, there's been other guys like Donovan that have struggled. Dylan Carlson, I'm sitting here looking at Bernie Miklasz had one of his, columns he does for Scoops with Danny Mac today where he kind of just does an update on the Cardinals and he spits a bunch of stats out at you. Before today, Carlson had a 3-hit game on April 2nd against the Blue Jays. Since then,
That was the opening series.
Yeah, 4 for 29 since April 2nd. Now he had a couple hits today, so that's not including today, but 4 for 29. That's a 138 average.
And that's the same that we talked about. That Walker was a 4 for 30. For
Right,
his last
it's the
30.
same kind of, but
Yeah.
but you're getting more attention for Walker because you have the 12-game hitting streak. He's a higher prospect.
Because you expect him to be
elite. The next big guy for us, and I get it. And that's why, to me, it's been so impressive. Like, you really don't see him. He doesn't seem to get down at the plate. Like, he doesn't carry it in the outfield. Now, I thought a couple times he showed a few umpires up, but they deserved to be shown up because they were pitches that were called strikes on him. They just were not strikes. And that seems to be happening to us a bunch this year, especially to Brandon Donovan. Like, every night it happens to Brandon Donovan. But for the most part, like, it doesn't seem like he's carrying it on to the next bat. He's still taking good at bats.
Right.
There's a vast difference between watching Jordan Walker struggle and then make adjustments like today, and then watching like Paul DeYoung struggle.
Right.
Which it just continues
just painful.
For months.
Well, so I think about that, and I think about Jordan Walker coming, what he's doing now, what Gorman has changed over to, what Alec Burleson has been unbelievable for him.
He barrels the ball so much.
The expectations of Alec Burleson was was maybe make the team,
pinch hitter, 4th, 5th outfielder,
right? Maybe make the club. Like, I mean, he was him, Yepes or Burleson, right?
We thought it'd be between him and Yepes,
right? And then he comes in. Now he's starting every game, a lot,
or at least hitting.
Right,
he's DHing.
He's been awesome. So again, I asked the question: is that with lack of Jeff Albert? I would love to have a conversation with Nolan Gorman again and say, is this what your changes? Is that because of what? Is that because of new eyeballs on your situation? Is that the work you did in the offseason with your own people? Or is this, getting away from the issues that people complained about internally with Jeff Albert? Because, look, we've been talking about internal issues. I'll bring up this as well. Adrian Chambers put on Facebook that he thought that there was internal issues happening with the St. Louis Cardinals. We've been talking about internal issues with the Cardinals back to Schilt and philosophical differences, right? Maybe even longer than that. Maybe Mike Matheny talking about internal issues of rubbing guys the wrong way. And then obviously Jeff Albert, they chose, Albert over Schilt, and then Albert still gets cut loose when Ollie's there. Like, internal issues back and forth is like what the Cardinals have been doing. This can't be another year of internal issues, or you have to look a little higher.
It seemed like Adrian, though, was insinuating that those internal issues might be in the clubhouse between the players and then maybe the manager.
Sure.
I mean, you've seen a lot of chatter on Twitter of people saying, like, it just doesn't seem like these guys like playing for Ollie, which is, to me, I'm like, well, but it seemed like they did last year. Like, generally, it seemed like they enjoyed playing with him for him last year. Now maybe Pujols and Molina kind of helped with that, and I don't know. Maybe it was more so the other way. People enjoyed playing with Pujols and Molina in their last years. But I will say that, I mean, there have been some decisions from Ollie this year that have been head scratchers that I would think have got to be frustrating the players some.
Yeah.
Like Palante the other night, close game, Jack comes out. You bring him in with bases loaded.
Who did you want in that situation?
So the context. So when he brought him in, I originally thought, Genesis Cabrera must not be available tonight.
Yeah.
Because there's 3 lefties coming up next.
Right.
And I know they look at Palante as like a de facto lefty because he was really good against lefties last year. It was 1 year. It's the guy's first year in the league. Like, how do we know that wasn't just a random thing? So, but I knew Zach Thompson wasn't available because he had pitched the last 2 days. And so when I saw Palante come in, I thought, oh, well, I know Cabrera's pitched 1 of the last 2 days. Maybe he's not available tonight. And that was my thought. If Cabrera wasn't available, then you probably go to Palante. He's your next best guy to get lefties out. Like, it made sense. But then I'm reading back and I'm like, well, wait a second. Well, one, you go to the next inning and he brings in Cabrera for a clean inning and he pitches 2 innings. Cabrera pitched like the rest of the game and looked great. And I'm like, well, why did we do that? And then Palante, if you remember, he had pitched the day before.
Right.
So that was his second night in a row pitching. Before he pitched the previous day before, they didn't pitch him for 4 days because of arm fatigue. there was like a thing about Katie Wu and some others had tweeted that, because people were like, why haven't you seen Palante in a couple of days? He had to take a brief, they just didn't use him for like 4 days because he had some arm fatigue thing. So you just think logically, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, you had a lefty available who's looked pretty good since he's come back up in Cabrera, velocity, striking guys out, whatever. I know the bases were loaded. Cabrera can get a little wild maybe. But then Palante, why are you pitching him back-to-back days and in a high-stress situation after you had to have 4 days of rest from arm fatigue? Yeah. There's been a lot of things like that. And then on top of it, starting Motter over, Nolan Gorman against lefties and these other random things. I'm like, what are we – it's just like, what are we doing? It seems like a lot of his decisions, and we can pick them all apart, right? Like, if we were winning, we probably wouldn't be doing this. We wouldn't care as much. But – it's just, I don't know, man. It's rubbing me wrong. He just doesn't seem to be making great decisions right now. That seem fairly logical.
It changed from last year, or did he make not great decisions last year either?
Well, I mean, he definitely, didn't make a great one. The biggest mistake he made in that game 1 against the Phillies in the playoffs, letting Helsley pitch through,
But Helsley had been so good.
Right, but he had also had that. Now that Helsley told him that he was fine,
right.
But and he breezed through that 8th inning. But the 9th, I mean, you could see it falling apart early.
Or is he not adjusting? I think about that.
That might be it. Yeah,
because Palante was, as you said, his reverse splits last year. He was spectacular. He was great. Helsley that entire year was really, really good. Like, is he just resting on what he saw last year and is not making now new informed decisions based on that? Like, maybe that's what it was missing.
Maybe, but then you had him, several games in a row going to Hicks in these high leverage situations when he's been terrible in those whole year.
Yes, because when they went to Hicks, it was like, this game's over.
Yeah, it seems like when he, came out and said the next day after the latest, last Hicks blow up that, well, we're gonna use him in lower leverage thing. Like, that sounds like Mo said, hey, maybe stop bringing him in.
Yeah, maybe don't do that.
In these higher ones for right now. Like, why is he not making that decision on his own sooner? I don't understand it.
All right, I'm going to talk about Tyler O'Neill. But before we get to that, let's go over a couple things. Let's talk about the things at the bottom of the screen. That's a Winter Podcast is brought to you by Jersey Flock, Lids.com, Breaking Tea, and Hide It Mounts. You can go on our link tree, find all of those things to be able to get discounts and all that. We have all of those things. We've bought things from all of those links. We are actual users of all of those products.
Yep. Great products. We can vouch for them.
Yes. That jersey behind me here, the Tommy Evans autograph with Tommy Two Bags on it, is an autographed Jersey Flock jersey.
Jersey Flock.
I bought that because I thought I was going to wear it, and then the opportunity to get it signed, then I used it. But Jersey Flock jerseys. Jersey Flock takes a while, so order your jerseys now for the postseason, assuming the Cardinals are going to be there. Breaking Tea.
We hope.
Yeah, breakingtea.com/that'sawinterpod has all kinds of cool stuff. Kershaw, new release stuff this week for getting his 200th career win. I think it was 200. And then you'll assume Waino will have a 200 career win soon, right?
Hopefully.
Coming soon, T-shirt. There's Jordan Walker tees. There's all kinds of Tommy Two Bags, Newt grinding the pepper, all kinds of cool, relevant to the Cardinals, but also if you're into other sports, college basketball, football, NFL, whatever, they have all kinds of stuff like that. And then Hide It Mounts. It just hides gaming stuff behind your TV and all that, but also they hang sports memorabilia, which I do with baseball bats with Hide It Mounts. So check all of our links. All right, let's get to one last topic before we run. Tyler O'Neill, you had projected that Tyler O'Neill would be traded before the end of this, before like the deadline, right? Which whatever, I don't know when that is this year, but you said that you thought that would be the case. Did you see the play when Motter ran through the bag at second, pulled a Nolan Gorman like Nolan Gorman did last year, ran through the bag at second, and they
got us a run
because
of that.
He stole a run, right?
And then somehow wasn't out. That was weird.
Yes, and did you see the high angle?
Oh, O'Neill barely made it home. Yeah,
barely, because he wasn't running hard.
Now, I will say, that play didn't bother bother me as much because he sees. I mean, he's already running in, so like for him, he's on third. What was there 2 outs?
Yes.
There's 2 outs. Like I didn't flip out about that one as much because we see guys do that all the time, jogging home. Like when the ball's hit like that, in his mind, you're thinking, I'm making it home either way, or I'm either making it home or he's getting thrown out. So like that one didn't bother me as much, but I bet he watched it and thought, oh my gosh.
Yeah, like if they go, because here that play was a very interesting one rule wise, that he beats the throw to second because he runs through the bag, and because the umpire at that point calls him out, the ball is dead there no matter what happens.
Right.
So he then runs through the bag, called out, the ball's dead, and then he gets tagged, which doesn't matter because the ball was dead at the out call.
Right.
So then,
which is why he got to stay.
That's
on
why
second.
he got to stay on second, which I thought was very interesting because.
So then by that, either way, O'Neill would have been safe.
Correct.
Right.
But if you looked at it visually, like in that where that tag happened, let's say the umpire didn't make the out call. They call him safe, but he comes off the bag because he's running through it, and then he gets tagged, and then they're looking at that play at home.
Oh yeah,
that's the review.
It would have been close.
It would have been, and if he's called out, if the run's no good, you're talking about a firestorm.
Oh yeah.
Against Tyler O'Neill.
The game before that, he drove a ball and was jogging. Thought it was
triple.
a home run.
It should have been a triple, right?
It easily should have been a triple for him.
Yeah.
Was jogging and then turned it on to get to second.
He is in the 75th percentile.
He's in the hot seat.
He's in the 75th percentile in speed this year in the MLB. Last year, he was in the 98th percentile in speed in the MLB. What do you think about him just not going hard? Like he's just not going to. What does that do for you as a fan, or if you're management, you're Ali Marmol or you're John Mozeliak? Like what does that do for you internally as a fan first? It pisses me off. Like
it's frustrating. I mean, it looks like you're only concerned with yourself.
Right. Like I played some years in co-ed softball, and I played every game like it was the Game 7 World Series.
Right.
And I'm talking about sliding into second and blowing people up. And my legs are bleeding because we didn't have pants on. We're in shorts and just slide in. My wife now, we were just dating at the time, and like I need to chill out because every game it's co-ed softball that we're playing like hardcore. But like you don't need to be like that serious. Like no, like I'm serious about this. Like I'm competitive. I'm playing every game. Even in those, I couldn't imagine me saying, I'm not going to run hard. Like I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way as a fan. Ali Marmol may be on board with it. John Mozeliak may be on board with it because they understand his body type is subject to injury.
Right.
They may all be on the same page, but from afar, I question it.
Yeah, it's just not a good look. And for you as the player, even if they were on board with it, like you can't say it.
Right.
You just can't.
But the numbers are there though too.
Yeah, well,
it
shows
obvious.
It shows it, but you definitely can't say it. It just looks worse on you. And then if you're gonna say it, I think at least, like if you're getting a lot of flack for it and you're gonna say it, then you need to say, look, I've been told to do this. Like put it in Ollie and Mo's court, but he said it, and then the next day, Mo's talking to Jim Hayes on the pregame show and was like, no, we play 100. So like either they threw him under the bus or they did not, tell him to do that. You know what I mean? Like I know that they told him to change his workouts, be more flexible so he, could stay healthier, but clearly they didn't tell him to just, I could see them saying that to like Goldie, or Nolan, which I still don't think that they would, and those guys wouldn't anyways. But it's like they're, especially Nolan. He's one of the slower runners.
Right.
Like he's not running full tilt on a ground ball to first base or something, and you don't expect him to. But a guy like O'Neill, like you haven't proven anything, man. Those guys also have. Nolan's got silver sluggers and 10 straight Gold Gloves, and Paul Goldschmidt's got an MVP. Like you don't have that. You haven't earned anything yet, so you just can't play that way. And honestly, like what you're doing that you think is going to help you coming up to free agency, teams could very easily like look at these interviews and look back at this and be like, okay, well, why should we give you this much? Why should we give you all this money and sign you if you're not going to play hard?
Like we want guys that lay out. Like he refused to lay out in center field.
He didn't die for one ball.
No,
in center
he
field.
refused to. Like he wasn't running hard and wasn't laying out. In left field, maybe he just feels more comfortable, but he's sliding.
It
for
looks like
catches.
he gets better jumps in left field.
Yeah, he's just able
Like
to see
left
it
to
better.
right. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't look like he could be a guy coming in to make a dive, like Dylan's made. Or,
Right. Or we saw Harrison Bader do all the time, or Jim
Yeah.
Edmonds before that doing all those types of plays. All right, let's close it up with the road trip. Road trip goes 3 to Seattle, then 4 to San Francisco, who they're 6-11, and then the Mariners are 8-11, and then we go to LA, who are 9-10 for 3.
Yeah, everybody's doom and gloom about this West Coast trip. I mean,
They're all
look,
underachieving right now.
they are.
So are the St. Louis Cardinals, by the way.
We are. We should be able to beat the Giants.
So that's 4.
Now, we should have been able to beat the
it's-
Pirates, but the Pirates were playing well when we played them.
That's 10 games.
Yeah.
10-game road trip. You want to do some predictions? We haven't done predictions.
I'm trying to look at. I'm skipping ahead, trying to look at pitching matchups.
Oh, that's cheating. And then we have an off day on that Monday, May 1st, and then
Off day tomorrow.
Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout come to town.
Well, that'll
after
be
that.
fun to see them hit bombs in Bush.
Wait, let Shohei get a taste of the Busch Stadium and the best fans
Yeah,
in baseball.
I mean,
He
if
and
I were
Newt-
there, I'd give him a standing
he
O.
and Newt rekindle their love, and they hug it out, and he says, look, check this out. All right, so you're trying to steal previews?
I'm looking ahead to pitching matchups this weekend.
So, okay, we'll both look at it then. Steven Matz versus George Kirby.
I have no idea who that is.
Steven Matz is an 0-2 with a 6.48 ERA. George Kirby is 1-1 with a 3.78 ERA, which is not terrible. On the Saturday game, Miles Michaelis with his 8.1 ERA, a 1-0 versus Luis Castillo, 2-0.
Just go ahead and chalk that up for an L.
2-0 with a .73 ERA.
That trade's looking great for them.
Mm.
And Castillo, I mean, he's when he was with the Reds, he pitched pretty good against us.
Absolutely.
So.
And then you have the last one in Seattle is Jack Flaherty with his 2.95 ERA.
It looks like one
Darn
we should
good.
be able
Chris
to win.
Flexen will be flexing his muscles to O'Neill hitting bombs as he got traded away from there, right? 0-3 and with a 7.79 ERA. Is Marco Gonzalez still with them? That's who the trade for O'Neill happened was
right.
for that. So those 3 games, and then going to San Francisco, those rest of those are TBD. Because you could get Waino back there possibly. So while you're looking into
Marco Gonzalez is with them. He's 1-0 with a 4.22 ERA and 10.2 innings pitched.
I bet he's upset he's missing the Cardinal series. Like
Yeah.
he's not starting.
I would
in that
assume
series.
he's still starting for
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
I bet he wishes he was starting to go against him.
Yeah.
Because Cardinals could use him right now. But so let's go back. Let's go with the Mariners. Let's just start there first. Mariners series. I think they will lose game 2. Luis Castillo.
Oh yeah. I think 1-3 you've got a shot. I mean, you should win 3. Just looking at their starter,
Yes.
and the guy's 0-3 with a near
George
80
Kirby,
ERA.
I don't know anything about, but he has a
I don't
3.78.
either, yeah.
So and they haven't won a single. They've lost 6 straight series openers. Games.
We have.
Yes, St.
Yeah.
Louis Cardinals have lost 6 straight. So I'm going to say the Cardinals are going to lose 2 out of 3 to Seattle.
That's probably the likely outcome. Unfortunately.
Okay.
I would like to say they could win this series because, again, like the Mariners haven't been playing that well either.
Yes.
But someone has to win the series.
Right. They're both teams are 8-11.
And I can't bet on the Cardinals at this point with how they have been playing.
Like I don't know what their offense has done. Let's be honest. I don't know what Seattle's offense has been doing. But if you look at the pitching matchups alone, George Kirby is a 3.78, Luis Castillo a 0.73, and then the 7.79. So like
Doesn't look great for us.
right, like the 0.73 obviously is unbelievable. But like 3.78, that'd probably be the second best ERA on our team, probably, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that accurate? Did I make that up? I mean,
Yes. Second best? Oh, for sure. Well, now
Montgomery's 4.84.
yeah, his ERA jumped.
So he's 4.84. So that Kirby guy, we don't
His
know.
ERA went from 2.45 to 4.84
Yikes.
in less than 2 hours.
Yikes. Well, so
Yeah.
George Kirby, which we don't know, admittedly don't know anything about, would have the second best ERA on the St. Louis Cardinals. So, like, maybe their offense hasn't been hitting. I don't know. But I think the Mariners overachieved last year, and I think
He's still got a lower ERA than Michaelis.
yeah, I mean, everyone does. Everyone, what do you mean? He's like something, right?
8-10.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go 2 for 3.
Yeah.
We're losing 2 of 3. So we're winning 1.
Hopefully we can win at least one of those.
And we should. The closing game.
The Giants is where I am hoping that we can make up some ground. Now, I don't know pitching matchups of that yet, but I don't know any of the Giants pitchers at this point, to be honest with you. After they lost Rodon.
I don't know anything about the Giants at all this year.
Yeah. I mean, Yastrzemski, that's one guy I know that they've got in their offense. Yeah, they don't look very good. They look like kind of a Rockies type of that division. That, to me, should be one that you should be able to find a way to win 3 games. And I feel like here the last couple of years, seems like we've played pretty well in San Francisco. I could be totally wrong. I haven't looked up the numbers, but
it's always a late night here in us on Eastern time.
Yes, it is. And then the Dodgers, of course, it's going to depend. Are we running into Kershaw? Are we running into Urias? Because if so, that's probably going to be a rough series too.
So there's three there.
We've hit Kershaw fairly well in past years, but he's looked pretty good this year.
He has, and the Cardinals have always done well against Kershaw, but that's in the postseason. I was going to say, but there's also it's a whole different team. He stayed the same, but there's one guy on the team and that's Adam Wainwright. That's probably was around for all that time. So you're going to go 3 of 4 for San Fran.
Optimistically and hopefully, yes.
I'm going to say 2 and 2. So
hopefully they at least do that.
So I'm 3 and 5. No, 3 and 4. Right after those 2, 1 and 2 and 2 and 2. So 1 and 2. Yeah. So I'm 3 and 4.
3 and 4.
After
and
those,
I'm 4 and
3.
4 and 3.
Okay. So then we go to LA. We don't know the matchups. We obviously don't know how it's going to line up. All late games on Friday nights, 10:10 p.m. Eastern time, 9:10 Central, 9:10, and then a 4:10. These are all Eastern times. 9:10 and 4:10. What do you got?
Dodgers?
Yeah.
Yeah. 1 and 2 probably.
I agree. I'm 1 and 2. So 3 and 4. So I'm 4 and 6 on this road trip, and you are 5 and 5. You're split.
I'm hoping for 500.
500.
And I think the only way it's going to happen is if you win 3 against the Giants.
So these are, in theory, these are all under 500 teams. Now, the Dodgers and the Mariners were supposed to be better.
Right.
I don't know about the Giants, what was expected of them. I don't think they were expected to be like really good or by any means. So if this is what we're predicting now, what are we going to be predicting in a few months from now? Like a month from now? If that's how we're predicting, the Cardinals aren't in the playoffs.
No. And I know from what I read and heard, their April schedule was quite a bit tougher than a lot of teams.
Yes, and we have the easiest schedule the rest of the way.
Right. Which we'll see.
Right.
Because
it's based on last year's.
We barely won a series against the Rockies and had to come back in those.
Right. We had to split.
Yeah.
Is that the split? Was that the one that we split out of nowhere? Or was that the Pirates? I don't know.
That was the Pirates.
Yeah, like we had the walk-off.
I was at that game. Tommy scraped that single through.
So we had to have a walk-off to not lose 3 or 4 to the Pirates.
And you blew a game.
At home.
One too.
All at home. The Cardinals have struggled mightily at home. So maybe this road trip will be nice that they'll be able to get away from Bush. I don't know.
I don't know though, man. Bush, that was another stats Bernie had with the starting pitching at Bush. Like starting pitching is just the team's got a 4-8 record at Bush.
Yes.
And their starters ERA is 5.81 with 9 home runs, 18 doubles, and a .510 slugging percentage at Bush this year.
Now, the attendance wasn't great against the Diamondbacks. Now, on paper, it's going to show that there was 30, 40 plus every game, but there wasn't. Now, it's got to be a lot easier, though, to go play in St. Louis instead of going and playing in Cincinnati every day, where they
Right.
had 7,000 fans at the game,
Ooh,
which
yeah.
is the worst they've had since the 70s. So, like, you would think that's got to be easier to play in St. Louis and get up for those games because you have people there every single game. Now they're going to go to Seattle, which I assume does well in attendance. I don't know, to be honest.
You would think these last couple of years, especially after they made the playoffs
Right.
last year.
And then obviously the Dodgers always do well in attendance. Now, I don't know what San Fran does when they're not good. The year I visited San Francisco, they were terrible and there was no one there. So I don't know how they do in attendance when they're not very good.
I'm not sure.
But
I mean, yeah, maybe a road trip
some
will help
the bros
them.
getting together, like spend some off day tomorrow in Seattle.
Get some quality time, take your mind off
Go to the fish
things.
market, throw some fish at each other or whatever they do in Seattle. Go to
whatever you do.
Go to the original Starbucks or whatever. I don't know. Hang out.
I think my hope by May 1st is that we are at a 500 record. I think that needs to be our hope.
May 1st. May 1st is the next off day.
Okay.
That's these 10 games. So go back
to might be the last podcast we do before I go to Scotland, by the way.
Yeah, so that day, May 1st.
Well, I mean, if we do one that day.
Yeah, we should. Or that Sunday night and then or whatever. Either way. So let's just say
we got to hope we get to 500 record.
Well, let's say what you just said. That's 10 games from now is the next off day that gets to May 1st, right? The Cardinals right now as of today are 8-11. You have them going 500 in those next 10 games.
Yeah.
So that makes them
13-16, right?
13-16, not back to 500.
No.
And I have them going one game lower than 500. So when you say they need to get back to 500 in this road trip, is that your head over heart, or is that like?
Oh, because this road trip ends
on May 1st is the next off day, and that's after these 10 games.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be there. I wasn't thinking about that it was on this road trip.
Yes.
I mean, so what? They would have to go. What would they have to go to get to 500?
Well, they are 3 games below right now. So they'd have to finish 7-3? No. That would put them at 15 and
6-4. Is that what they would need to do?
6-4 would get them to 13-14, right? No, 14-14. Yeah, that'd be 14-14.
6-4.
6-4.
So we would need a
sweep in. Probably a sweep.
Either a sweep.
Probably a 4-game sweep
in San Francisco, or if they won 3 or 4 there, and then
2 in one of the other places.
Yeah.
Yes. Which I would say is the most likely. Like you could take 2 of 3.
You could take 2 or 3 against Seattle, and it wouldn't because they haven't been playing good either.
Right, but you have to do it in the first game. The second game is where you're going to have a problem in Seattle. So you have to be able to do it in game 1 and in game 3. Cardinals have not done well in game 1s of series.
Right.
So that's where you have to be able to do it. So that's where the issue is there. So yes, they can go. I do believe they can go 2-3 in Seattle. I'm making the statement of 1-3 because of their issues in game 1. So that's where so yes, if they go 2-3 there and they get 3 of 4, then they can definitely win 1 in LA and they can get back up to 500. All right.
Let's hope they do it. I do want to end on one high note from this week with the Cardinals. I think has been nice to see. Wilson Contreras has been doing
absolutely.
Last 7 games, he is hitting .320 with a .393 OBP, .680 slugging, OPS over 1,000. Am I looking at this right? 197 OPS plus, which is ridiculous.
Which is very high, yes.
So that's good to see. The power's coming.
And he's been
hitting the ball very hard. The game I was at Sunday, he hit a double. It was 115 miles per hour off the bat or something. So good to see him playing with some fire. He was getting, fired up against Bumgarner today. They were yelling at each other.
I enjoyed that.
I like that. You need a guy like that that's gonna, say, hey, like it's not all sunshines and rainbows. Let's get going.
And I don't understand what Baumgartner would be barking about.
It looked like he was mad that because Contreras kind of grunted like, "Oh, I missed that." It was like a fastball over the plate.
He was mad he missed it.
Yeah.
But Adrian Chambers messaged me back. He was possibly going to be on the show tonight. He says, let's do it another night. So maybe on May 1st we can get Adrian Chambers on.
Yeah.
I was going to pull up some good news. Since you were doing your own good news, I was going to pull up some good news by the guy named Nolan Gorman. So this is a Nolan Gorman podcast now. As the kids say, this is a Stan account.
Stan account, yeah. Nolan Gorman. Norman
Gorman.
Norm, is that what they call him?
As my son calls him, Noman Goman. Noman Goman. He is an OPS of 1.052, best on the team. He is 316 batting average, best on the team.
Take that all day.
5 home runs now. So you were right. Today was his 5th home run.
Nice.
He leads the team. By the way, when I talked about everyone has
18 RBIs now?
Hold on, but you talked about everyone has 2 home runs. Nolan Arenado, Alec Burleson, Wilson Contreras, Brendan Donovan, Tommy Edman, Paul Goldschmidt, Tyler O'Neill, and Jordan Walker all have 2 home runs. And then Lars and Yepes have 1, and no one else has any home runs. Carlson, Kisner, Motter, no home runs. But so he leads the team in OPS, average, home run. RBIs, he has 18, also leads the St. Louis Cardinals.
18 in what? What is that, 16 games right now? 17?
But he hasn't played those games.
Right.
He's only played in...
He's played in 16 games.
He's played in 16. Okay, so there you go.
So how many games have we played now? Where do we at?
19.
19, okay.
Runs scored, he is not leading the team. He is down there because no one brings him in.
Right.
He is 3rd on the team in hits. Again, he played 3 less games and also gets taken out in games. He's 3rd in hits with 18. Nolan Gorman has 4 doubles, which is 3rd on the team. Games played, here we are to that part. He's played 17 games now out of 19 games for the team.
He's going to blow last season out
of the water. He's 3rd on the team in walks. He has 9 walks, which is great for him. Strikeout-wise, who's leading the team in strikeouts? Guesses?
I would
it's
guess...
It's not Nolan Gorman, by the way.
Oh, no, yeah. I would guess... I would probably guess O'Neill.
He is, 21.
Yeah.
Jordan Walker has 17, and then Gorman has 16. Arenado 15, like everyone else is right there. OBP, he is 2nd on the team with 403 on base.
Who's higher?
Paul Goldschmidt, 439. He's walking a ton, Paul Goldschmidt is.
Goldschmidt has quietly actually started off really well. We haven't talked about that a lot.
He's not hitting bombs, but he's
the power hasn't come yet, but compared to how he normally starts, he's looked really good.
Absolutely. And then Nolan Gorman is leading the team in slug at 649.
So last season, he had 14 home runs and 35 RBI in 89 games. What do you have in those two?
How many RBI in
35?
35 in
89 games.
Yeah. He's at 18 already in 16.
What's your prediction for Nolan Gorman?
RBI?
Home run and RBI.
Home run, he's going to hit 25. I think.
Well, that's it, you think?
I think at least 25. He's going to have a lull. He's at 5. I haven't done the math on it. I've been tracking math on what he's on pace to do, which is in 40s and 50s, which we know is not going to happen, right? Like, he's not going to hit 44 home runs, which has been on pace for.
I think he gets to 30 this year, man.
Which would be awesome.
That'd be fan. Yeah.
Yeah, which would be great.
As a second baseman, DH, that'd be great.
And I think he should be, but he's not going to play every day. He's not playing every day yet. He's
well,
not
that's
getting
the problem.
He's not
all he needs to open his eyes and start him against lefties.
Yeah, I think he's going to get 85 RBI. I think he's going to. I have to do the math on where he's tracking right now, but I think 25 and 85, and he's batting near 275-ish. I think you'd be super stoked to have that season.
Especially where he's playing, his position, because he is getting some starts at second base. And he's looked good defensively, too.
But what I just said, he's on pace to destroy all of those numbers.
Right.
He's on pace. Again, I haven't done the numbers, but he's on pace to be hitting 40-plus home runs. He's on pace to 100-plus RBI. Like, he's on pace to be doing well. But he's leading the team in 5 or 6 categories. Nolan Gorman has been the best baseball player on the St. Louis Cardinals this year, and which is awesome after what he was expected of him last year and the way he got some flack from fans.
Yeah.
And now he's doing exactly what we anticipated and more. Like, he's outperforming what I thought he would do.
Yeah.
Which is just awesome to see. And I think Jordan Walker's the same dude. Like, he's gonna have some lulls, and then Jordan Walker's gonna blow up, and he's gonna hit 30 bombs.
Man, I cannot wait for that. When he starts getting lost on the ball.
He's 20 years old. He's 20 years old.
He's already had 12-game hitting
By
streak.
22 years old, he's hitting 30-plus bombs a year, and he's 100-plus RBI a year. Like, that's just who he's gonna be. And if Nolan Gorman and Jordan Walker are your anchors in that, the future.
And you still have Arenado for 4 more years.
4 more years, yeah. And then Goldie's on the end of his way out. But
Could be fun. It could be fun to watch with the offense. I don't know. We'll see how some of these young pitchers turn out. Hopefully they don't. Bring guys like Tink Hintz up, and throw them in the bullpen, and mess them all up.
He's out on the IL. If you didn't see,
I saw he's
on a 7-day IL stint. But
they're giving him a rest.
I would like to see some of these high-end pitchers turn into high-end players as well. The Cardinals have. When's the last high-end pitcher turned through the Cardinals organization and been a high-end pitcher?
Probably I would say the first 3 years of Carlos Martinez were really, really good. If you remember those first 2 years that he started,
could possibly throw a no-hitter every time out.
Oh yeah.
I
went to a game. I remember going to a game in June. I think it was the second year he was starting, and he threw a complete game shutout. He had like 11 or 12 Ks and just looked filthy.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, we have finally developed an ace. And then, if me today could go back to that, first of all, you have no idea what's coming. Yeah. But the first 3 years, you got some really good years out of him, and he looked great. But yeah, to your point, no, definitely not consistently.
So I would like to see Liberatore, Graceffo, these guys turn into what is expected of them. And I have a ticket stub somewhere of, I don't know where it is, but Gorman autographed his first home run game. Same game was Libby's first win. They got their first win in home run, so I'd like him to do well and then add his signature to that ticket. Yeah. It'd be pretty cool. All right. We went longer than I expected. I literally thought we were going to be done at like 45 minutes, but as normal, here we are, 1:21.
Yep. At least we had a little bit more positive things to talk about today.
Yes. I literally thought today was going to be doom and gloom until the onslaught of runs, Nolan Gorman's exceptional pinch hit grand slam. And
let's hope it carries over, man.
And Tommy's great day as well.
Momentum doesn't always seem like a real thing in baseball. They had that explosion in Colorado when they came back, and I thought, this is going to turn. Just hasn't. So hopefully it happens this week. We'll see.
Yes, most definitely. We'll plan for May 1st. Is that what we just said? That's the next off date? We'll plan for May 1st. Either a new podcast will be released that day or we'll go live that evening, one of the two. So we'll plan for that next one. And be sure to check out our link tree. All of our sponsors are on there to be able to get some cool stuff, and also be able to watch past episodes on YouTube. You can listen on the podcast released in video form on Spotify and Apple and all those different places you can get wherever you consume podcasts. We are there either audio or video or both together, and everything is always archived on YouTube, live on Facebook, live on Twitter. We're everywhere that you can find stuff. You can find us. Thanks for listening, watching. I am Ryan Jenkins. That's Josh Brown. And this has been That's a Winner Podcast.
Shooter from the belt to the plate. A swing and a miss. And that's a winner. That's a winner. A World Series winner for the Cardinals. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the Cardinals have won the game by the score of 3-2 on a home run by the Wizard. Go crazy. Swinging a long one into left field. Adios, goodbye, and maybe that's the winner. A 3-run homer by Clark, and the Cardinals lead by the score of 7-5, and they may go to the World Series on that one, folks.
What a team. What a ride. The Cardinals are world champs in 2011.